This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
These iconic words, spoken by the late great kung fu legend Bruce Lee in the 1971 television series Longstreet, embody the fluidity and adaptability that defined his almost mythical martial arts career. Lee's otherworldly skill and charisma propelled him to superstardom and made him a global icon. But behind the glamour and the glory lies a tragic story of a life cut short. In 1973, at the age of 32 and at the peak of his fame, Bruce Lee suddenly and mysteriously died. His passing subsequently sent utter shockwaves around the globe. Tragically, Bruce's son Brandon would meet an eerily similar fate just 20 years later. Brandon, an up-and-coming actor following in his father's footsteps, died in a freak accident on a movie set at age 28. The untimely deaths of both Bruce and Brandon Lee stunned and crushed fans across the globe. Join us as we explore the incredible lives, legacies, and shocking final days of this remarkable father and son. This is the heartbreaking true story of Bruce and Brandon Lee. Bruce Lee's early life and entry into martial arts. Bruce Lee was born Lee Jun-fan on November 27, 1940 in San Francisco's Chinatown. His father, Lee Hoi-chien, was a Cantonese opera star, and his mother, Grace Ho, was a socialite. The family moved back to Hong Kong when Bruce was 3 months old. As a child, Bruce appeared in more than 20 Hong Kong films, starting with a role as a baby in 1941's Golden Gate Girl. He excelled at dancing and earned the nickname Never Sit Still. However, Bruce struggled academically and frequently got into street fights, so his parents enrolled him in martial arts classes. Bruce began learning Wing Chun, a close-range kung fu style, from Grandmaster Yip Man in 1954 at age 13. Yip's other famous student was Wong Jackman, who Bruce would later have a controversial private match against in 1964. Bruce augmented his Wing Chun with other kung fu styles, boxing and fencing, as well as philosophy. This hybrid approach sowed the seeds for his Jeet Kune Do system. Fearing Bruce would get into serious trouble with gangs in Hong Kong, his parents sent him off to live with family friends in Seattle in 1959. This marked the start of a new chapter in America, where Bruce would attend university, open his first martial arts schools, and lay the groundwork for his future stardom. Bruce Lee's rise to martial arts superstardom. While studying philosophy at the University of Washington, Bruce began teaching Kung Fu in 1959. His classes became so popular that he opened his first Junfang Kung Fu Institute in Seattle. 2 more would follow in Oakland and Los Angeles. Bruce's unique high-kicking, hard-hitting style attracted the attention of martial arts champions and Hollywood celebrities alike. In Oakland, Bruce met his future wife, Linda Emery, when she attended his classes. The couple married in 1964 and had 2 children, Brandon in 1965 and Shannon in 1969. Bruce's big break came when he landed the role of Kato in the TV series The Green Hornet. His dynamic kung fu, good looks, and cocky charisma stole the show from lead actor Van Williams. Bruce used his platform to challenge Asian stereotypes, refusing to do roles that mocked his accent or culture. He also opened many American eyes to authentic Chinese martial arts, as opposed to the chopsocky stereotypes in Hollywood at the time. After The Green Hornet was canceled, Bruce struggled to find non-cliched roles in America. Frustrated with the lack of opportunities, he moved his family back to Hong Kong in 1971 to star in films. This launched his meteoric rise to global superstardom. Bruce's first 2 Hong Kong films, The Big Boss in 1971 and Fist of Fury in 1972, broke local box office records. His third film, Way of the Dragon, in 1972, which he wrote, directed, and produced, pitted him against karate champion Chuck Norris in the classic Coliseum fight scene. By the time Bruce made his Hollywood comeback with Enter the Dragon in '73, he was an international icon. Sadly, Bruce would not live to see Enter the Dragon become a global blockbuster. On July 20th, 1973, just days before the film's premiere, the 32-year-old collapsed in Hong Kong and was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. The official cause was cerebral edema, or swelling of the brain, likely triggered by an adverse reaction to the painkiller Equagesic, which he took for a headache. Fans around the world went into shock and mourning. Over 25,000 attended Bruce's funeral in Hong Kong. He was laid to rest at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle. Eulogies poured in from friends, colleagues, and admirers like Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Chuck Norris, George Lazenby, and Robert Klaus. Bruce Lee's untimely death cut short a skyrocketing career that redefined martial arts, action cinema, and Asian representation on screen. He packed an incredible mind, body, and spirit into his brief 32 years that continues to inspire millions today. Enter the Dragon, which earned over $400 million, was just the beginning of Bruce's limitless potential. One can only imagine the impact he would have made had he lived longer. Brandon Lee's childhood and early career.
I got started as soon as I could walk. My dad started training me when I was very young. And then he continued that training up until he passed away.
Born February 1st, 1965 in Oakland, Brandon quite literally grew up on his famous father's film sets. Home video footage shows an adorable baby Brandon in a diaper throwing kung fu punches on the set of The Big Boss. Later photos capture him playfully sparring with Bruce. The little boy was his father's shadow, eagerly following him everywhere and absorbing his every move and word like a sponge. This famous image shows a beaming Brandon sitting on Bruce's lap in his first American TV interview on The Pierre Berton Show in 1971. After Bruce's sudden death in '73, 8-year-old Brandon deeply missed his father. He acted out and got kicked out of several schools. The family moved around from Hong Kong to Seattle to Los Angeles, with Brandon and his younger sister Shannon raised by their mother Linda. As a teenager, Brandon reconnected with his father's martial arts teachings and legacy. He earned a black belt in Junfan Gung Fu and Jeet Kune Do under Bruce's protege, Dan Inosanto. Brandon also studied Muay Thai, Filipino Kali, and other styles his father had blended into his training. Brandon attended high school in Los Angeles and Massachusetts before studying theater at Emerson College and the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute in New York City. He decided to follow in Bruce's footsteps and become an actor.
How many seconds for you?
Brandon's acting debut came in the 1986 Hong Kong action film Legacy of Rage, where he played a young man seeking revenge for his father's death. His impressive martial arts skills drew immediate comparisons to Bruce. Brandon then appeared in a kung fu TV movie and the low-budget action flick Laser Mission, building his fighting experience on camera. Mainstream success seemed around the corner when Brandon was cast opposite Dolph Lundgren in the 1991 buddy cop film Showdown in Little Tokyo. The following year, he landed his first leading role in the 20th Century Fox thriller Rapid Fire. Brandon also worked as a fight choreographer on the film, incorporating his father's Jeet Kune Do principles. But the role Brandon would become most known for arrived in 1993 when he was cast as Eric Draven in The Crow, a dark fantasy action film based on the comic book. Brandon saw the role, which mixed romance, drama, and brooding intensity, as his chance to finally emerge from his father's shadow as a serious actor. Tragically, life would once again imitate art, as Brandon's own breakthrough was cut devastatingly short. Brandon Lee's shocking on-set death.
When he came through the door with the grocery bag, they do the shot, and then he drops down, and everybody waits for him to get up, and he didn't get up. He just stayed there. He just didn't move.
On March 31st, 1993, with only a few days left of filming on The Crow, Brandon was fatally shot on set during a scene where his character is murdered by street thugs. The handgun used was supposed to be loaded with blanks, but the prop master had negligently allowed a real bullet to be put in the chamber. When actor Michael Massey fired the gun at Brandon from a close range, the bullet pierced Brandon's abdomen and lodged in his spine, damaging several organs along the way. The 28-year-old was rushed to the hospital and underwent 6 hours of emergency surgery, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead just past midnight on March 31st. Questions swirled over how real ammunition made its way onto a movie set. Investigators discovered the handgun had been used for target practice a few days earlier, and the live bullet came from a box of dummy rounds. But instead of a solid projectile, dummy rounds have no powder or primer and are used to show bullets sitting visibly in the chamber. Somehow, a real bullet got mixed into the dummy box. Theories also surfaced about a Lee family curse. How could both father and son, known for being at the peak of fitness and martial arts prowess, die so suddenly before their big films? But in the end, Brandon's death, like Bruce's, was a freak accident and a stroke of unbelievably bad luck. Stunt doubles and CGI were used to superimpose Brandon's face and finish his remaining scenes in The Crow, which was released in May 1994 to critical acclaim and commercial success. Brandon's final haunting performance as a murdered man resurrected to avenge his and his fiance's death seemed to take on a ghostly double meaning. At the premiere, Brandon's mother, Linda, told the crowd of reporters, quote, "It is Brandon's movie, but it's also a movie about loss and death and healing those things. Strange as it may be, it's also a movie about hope." The Crow has since become a cult classic, though it's impossible to separate the film's morbid atmosphere from Brandon's tragic fate. He was posthumously awarded an MTV Movie Award for Best Male Performance, and the film itself won Best Movie. Brandon was buried next to his father at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle, the city where Bruce first made his name in America. The father-son duo's matching headstones are inscribed with an epitaph Brandon himself had picked out from one of his favorite Paul Bowles novels.
There's this wonderful quote from the book Sheltering Sky, where he says, "Because we do not know when we will die, we get..."
Words capture the prevailing sentiment around Bruce and Brandon, two shining stars snuffed out far too soon. Father and son both conquered Hollywood, defied stereotypes, and inspired millions in their brief but blazing career. What could they have accomplished with more time on this earth? Those memories and what-ifs feel like an inexhaustible well, but Bruce and Brandon made every single moment of their lives count. Shannon Lee carries on her family's legacy.
I mean, when I was a kid, I used to say to people like, you know, when people would say, "Oh, my dad can beat up your dad," I'd be like, "No, but really, my dad can beat up your dad." For sure, 100%.
As the daughter and sister of Bruce and Brandon Lee, Shannon has devoted herself to honoring their memories and preserving their legacies through her work with the Bruce Lee Foundation, her book Be Water, My Friend, and her involvement developing the TV series Warrior on Cinemax. Shannon was only 4 when Bruce passed away and 19 when she lost Brandon. The double tragedies deeply affected her, as one can probably imagine. In an interview with People magazine, Shannon opened up about her childhood memories of Bruce and what it felt like to lose him at such a young age. Quote, "When he focused his attention on you, it was like having the sun shine on you. That feeling has stayed with me my whole life." After Brandon's sudden death, Shannon struggled to process her grief and turned to her father's writings for solace and strength. She recalled a quote that particularly resonated with her. "The medicine for my suffering I had within me from the very beginning. Now I see I will never find the light unless, like the candle, I am my own fuel." This realization set Shannon on a lifelong journey of introspection and healing through her father's philosophies. She studied psychology, social work, and business at Tulane University. She also traveled to India and South Africa, where she volunteered at orphanages. In 1998, Shannon appeared as a singer in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, a biopic about her dad. But she struggled to embrace acting full-time like Bruce and Brandon, feeling the weight of expectations. Ultimately, Shannon decided her path was to be the torchbearer for her father's teachings. In 2002, Shannon and her mother Linda co-founded the Bruce Lee Foundation to share Bruce's message with the world. As CEO, Shannon oversees educational programs, martial arts scholarships, and the preservation of Bruce's writings and possessions. She was instrumental in developing Warrior, the TV series that brings Bruce's vision to life. The show follows a Chinese martial artist navigating the Tong Wars of San Francisco in the 1870s. Shannon was involved in all aspects of production and even has a cameo. My father wrote this idea in 1971 and sealed it in an envelope. After he passed, my mom found it, but studios weren't interested back then. To see it finally come to fruition now, knowing how much he wanted this made, feels really meaningful. In 2020, Shannon edited a collection of Bruce's writings called Be Water, My Friend. The book features his never-before-seen poems, essays, and affirmations that capture his Eastern philosophy of fluidity, self-actualization, and perseverance. Shannon regularly holds book signings, attends martial arts expos, and does speaking engagements to connect with her dad's still faithful army of fans. She sees herself as a grateful custodian of his legacy. My father touched so many people in his short time on Earth. His words and example are more relevant than ever. I meet folks all the time who share how Bruce inspired them to be more bold, more present, more alive. If I can keep spreading that message, I know I'm doing him proud. Shannon's memories of Brandon are more personal and pained. The siblings were extremely close, and she struggled to imagine life without him. In a 2018 video remembering Brandon 25 years later, she said,
"He was poetic and beautiful, and one of the things that he used to say all the time was that people should follow their hearts."
Today, Shannon lives in Los Angeles with her daughter, Wren, whom she named after the bird that carries souls to the afterlife in Brandon's final film, The Crow. She's in a long-term relationship with martial artist Ian Kiesler, whom she met through their shared passion for Buddhism and mindfulness. Shannon regularly visits her father and brother's grave sites in Seattle to feel their presence. While their physical lives were cut short, she believes their essence endures in the millions of people they've inspired. Bruce and Brandon Lee's lasting impact.
I started training with my dad really as soon as I could walk. I mean, my dad was a really diligent trainer, and he always had people over at the house practicing, friends and students, and that was just how we played at my house, you know? In fact, I remember when I was a little kid, a lot of my friends didn't want to come over to the house because there were always these men out in the backyard screaming and breaking things, you know?
Brandon Lee's untimely death on the set of The Crow had a profound impact on Hollywood and permanently altered the way firearms are handled on film productions. The accident exposed critical safety oversights and served as a wake-up call for the entire film industry. The investigation found that the gun had been improperly prepared and checked by the props department. Dummy rounds had been modified from live ammo by simply removing the bullets. Tragically, one of these dummy rounds still contained a primer, which provided just enough force to push the bullet into the gun barrel when the firearm was cocked. No one noticed the lodged bullet, so when a blank round was loaded later, it propelled the stuck bullet out of the gun with nearly the same force as a live round. This devastating mistake led to major reforms in firearms protocol on movie sets. Prop guns could no longer be modified from live guns and had to be purpose-built replicas. Firearms experts had to be present whenever blanks were being used. Actors would now only fire at camera angles, never directly at another person. Any close-up shots of gun barrels had to use CGI muzzle flashes instead of blanks. Sadly, these hard-won reforms didn't prevent a similar tragedy from occurring nearly 30 years later. In 2021, cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed on the New Mexico set of the Western film Rust when a prop revolver fired by star Alec Baldwin unexpectedly contained a live round. The live ammo had mistakenly been brought to set and mixed with the dummy rounds. The rushed tragedy reignited the debate over whether firearms capable of firing blanks have any place on modern film sets. With the rise of sophisticated CGI and airsoft replicas, many argued there was no longer any reason to risk lives for the sake of realism. Brandon Lee's fiancée Eliza Hutton and sister Shannon Lee were among the chorus of voices calling for a ban on live guns and blanks on sets. Despite his untimely passing, Brandon Lee left an unforgettable mark on pop culture that endures today. The Crow became a cult classic that inspired a wave of dark, stylized anti-hero films. The gothic aesthetics, brooding soundtrack, melancholic romance, and atmospheric cinematography influenced movies like Blade, Spawn, Constantine, Sin City, and V for Vendetta. Brandon's iconic final performance, combined with his real-life tragedy, gave The Crow an uncanny, haunting quality that was impossible to separate from the film's legacy. Entertainment Weekly later ranked his Eric Draven as one of the 100 greatest characters of the last 20 years. Beyond Hollywood, The Crow tapped into the 1990s alternative zeitgeist and became a touchstone for goths, punks, metalheads, and disaffected youth worldwide. The image of Brandon in his black leather costume, stark makeup, and sorrowful eyes became a popular poster in college dorms and a go-to Halloween costume. His tragic backstory only deepened the character's appeal as a symbol of love, loss, and revenge. Musicians paid tribute with songs like the Rollins Band's Liar and Medicine's Cult of Brandon. In the martial arts world, Brandon was hailed as a worthy successor to his father's legacy. His physical speed, grace, and precision were on full display in Rapid Fire and The Crow's action scenes. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Chuck Norris all paid tribute to Brandon as a rising star and lost talent.
Although accidents do happen, but there are various kinds of strike. It depends on where you hit and what weapon you will be using. To the eyes, you would use fingers. Don't worry. To the eyes. Or straight at the face. From the waist, everything on.
Of course, Brandon's career can't be fully set apart from that of his iconic father, Bruce Lee. Bruce's philosophy, physicality, and filmography continues to shape modern cinema half a century after his passing. Every martial arts movie, from The Raid to John Wick to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, contains traces of his DNA. His intense, ripped, shirtless archetype has become a mainstay of the genre. His groundbreaking integration of fluid kung fu choreography into the fabric of filmmaking forever changed the language of action movies. More subtly, Bruce's swagger, attitude, and refusal to accept tired Asian stereotypes empowered a new generation of performers to break out of the background and claim center stage. No one embodied Bruce's mantle more fully than Quentin Tarantino's longtime collaborator and stunt coordinator Wu Ping Yuan. As the fight choreographer of The Matrix, Kill Bill, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Drunken Master, and dozens more, Wu Ping translated Bruce's graceful, high-impact JKD moves to wire fu and bullet time for a new generation. But perhaps the deepest impact of Bruce and Brandon Lee lies beyond martial arts and their movies. Through the Bruce Lee Foundation, Bruce's daughter Shannon has spread their message of self-actualization, personal liberation, and harmony of body and mind. Bruce's Jeet Kune Do philosophy of being like water, rejecting dogma, and adapting to challenges has become a mantra for entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, and anyone seeking to maximize their potential while navigating an unpredictable world. Now it's time to hear from you. We'd love to know your thoughts on the incredible legacy of Bruce and Brandon Lee. Let us know in the comments section below.